Hi, everyone, and welcome to another of Talking Finance with myself. Today, I've got Victoria Costa from Credit Fix Solution on the line. How are you?
Hello. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think as we go to record, um, we're looking forward. I'm looking forward to the conference over the weekend,
Yes,
which will be very fun.
finally. Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
can't wait.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic to finally get together, right? It's just been too long.
Absolutely. It'd
Mm.
be the first one in 2 years or 2.5 years.
Yeah, it feels
That's
like 10, but I think you're right. Yeah.
well, anyway, that aside, we're here to talk about something that is not so fun.
Mm,
So recently, unless you've been living under the rock, the two biggest news points the last 2 weeks has been the conflict in the Ukraine, or the war in the Ukraine. I'm going to use that word because I'm not in Russia. The war in Ukraine, and obviously the floods which are happening in Queensland and
mm,
northern New South Wales right now. So um, that I mean, it's they're calling it the is it once in 200 or even 300-year flood or something like that,
mm.
and it's just terrible, 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 terrible. Now, are you affected by that at all, Victoria?
No, thank God we're fine. So we're just outside of Sydney, about half an hour up the M2. And I mean, just to kind of like the southwest of us, Camden, that sort of area in Sydney is affected. And if I was a bit more north, then I probably would have been blocked in. But we've been okay. Just keeping the kids home a little bit from school. That's the only
And
thing.
yeah, and then that's the one of the other tough things that all parents have had to negotiate our way through in the last two
Mm,
years, anyway. Um, but on a more serious note, because we've got large portions of the population that are now underwater in those areas,
mm,
and obviously, you know, people have got mortgages. We're not going to talk about people with deals in flight right now, but we're talking about people who currently have a debt, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a car loan, personal loan, and so forth. I think you know, how do I put it? Paying a loan right now is probably the last thing that's on their mind. And not only are they people going to be finding it difficult to pay their loans, but obviously because you can't work because everything's closed. And like I said, it's probably one of the last things that you think about.
mm.
So my first question to you, Victoria, is for the people watching right now, um, especially if you're a broker and you actually dealt with a client and your clients are in the affected areas, right? Um,
Mm.
should they still continue to pay their bills?
Well, my response to that is, can they? I mean, that's the issue. I mean, you look at Queensland, there's 60,000 claims already in. There's 20,000 in New South Wales. It looks like it's going to be, $2 to $3 billion cleanup. So many homes, so many people still don't have electricity. And I'm on the treadmill in the mornings thinking about this. Like, what can you do?
Mm,
What if you can't check at your local branch? What if you can't get online? What if you don't have your phone? What if you don't have your laptop? So I think if brokers are hearing from any clients who are flood affected, this is the one thing I had on my mind this all morning before I was going to meet with you today. What could I suggest? And the only thing I could think of was, do you have a relative or a friend who's not flood affected? Do you trust them enough to kind of give them your details so that they can go and check for you? I mean, I'm hoping that people have direct debits already set up, but a lot of people don't understand direct debits, or they don't understand. You might have older clients who don't use internet banking, for example. They simply just won't be paying, and the cleanup looks so massive. Apparently we've got a year's worth of rubbish, a year's worth of landfill to put somewhere. We already saw after the fires, there's still people who are homeless.
mm.
So I really don't know. The other thing is, if they do have a phone or internet, is to suggest to go to moneysmart.gov.au or call the National Debt Helpline, which is 1-800-007-007. But apart from that, I mean, like, what if they don't have their phone? There's no electricity, there's no water. I mean, they're dealing with the problems of rats, mice, and mosquitoes. Last thing on your mind right now is, have I paid my phone bill? I should think.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Absolutely, because we like you said, I take it for granted that most of my things are direct debit, but there is still a portion of customers who don't do the direct debits. They will do the transfers themselves, either manually or
Mm.
online. But you know, there are some towns with no electricity, and let alone internet, right, or even phone reception right now. So,
Yeah.
um, that's a toughie. But say you do. I mean, for the customers themselves, right? At the end of the day, a bank is going to automatically. I'm talking about a bank here, but I guess overall, every lender will still be charging the customers interest on a daily balance, and also needs a repayment at the set date that was agreed to, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
if they can, would you suggest that they call those lenders up and ask for some sort of a pause, whether there is the option to do something like that?
Yeah, so all the lenders should have a system whereby they put a natural disaster coding on your account if you're in one of the postcode affected areas. So brokers can share that with their clients, is not to panic, because we've seen this before with the fires when we've gone in to remove data, and they'll actually put a note in there which says natural disaster zone. So the banks and lenders, their systems should be doing that already, just in case anything happens that needs to be fixed, press the wrong button, whatever it might be. But definitely call. I've been receiving emails from my lenders saying, hey, do you need help? So if you do have internet, if you can jump online, check your emails, and there should be either a number that you can call through to your lender, or maybe even an email form might be good to organize. But definitely get in touch if you can. And they are offering pauses. And if you're in a postcode affected area, I think it's kind of automated. The system go in and says, natural disaster postcode area. So it can
Yep.
fix stuff later on.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's obviously two things. One is the any emails that people are receiving, because one of the awful things right now is people are getting scammers trying to
Yeah.
either send you an email or whatever. But if you know the bank's contact details or the lender's contact details, contact them correctly, directly, as soon as you can, not from any link. That's my
Mhm.
suggestion anyway. The other thing is also to make sure that you're domiciled correctly as well on their system. What I mean by that is that people move, people forget to update their addresses, and if your address is not updated, there's a good chance that the incorrect coding is not applied to your credit file,
Good point.
which can then
Mm,
which will affect your ability to borrow at some
mm,
time, right? So um, that's my suggestion. Um, now, obviously, how do I put it? It's such an emotionally and if not physically tiring time for people as well.
mm.
If they don't do this now, which they, like I said, probably reasonably to assume that some won't,
Yeah.
12 months to track, 13 months to track, whatever, and then they've actually managed to get everything back in order again, and then it is time to look at that refinance or look at that other purchase or do something else to um, uh, ask for a new debt facility, right? And then they do have the incorrect coding on their profile.
Mm.
What would they do now at that point in time? Sorry.
Well, okay, let's split it into two. So you've got repayment history information, but then you've got defaults. So if you're new to broking and you're listening in, a default's where you become seriously overdue and you get a black mark on the credit report for 5 years. Repayment history information is where our lenders are now recording 24 months repayment history information on all of our loans, mortgages, personal loans, credit cards, you name it. So let's just look at RHI first. If they've recorded maybe for this month, next month, the month after, your customers haven't been able to make payments, and the lender's recorded a 1 and then a 2 and a 3 for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months in arrears. Retrospectively, or in theory, in a year's time, if it's a bank error, then yes, you'd be able to change those to an R for not recorded, but still a future lender will recognize that 3Rs mean that there was hardship. So moving forward, we're always telling our brokers, and by then the brokers is going to have hopefully 6 to 12 months good repayment history, right? So that should be fine for most lenders, and I'm sure the teams in credit will be sort of well educated around the fact that this is natural disaster. We're going to be seeing groups of ours on people's reports left, right, and center. I mean, I had a look at the map view of the area that's affected by all of this, and it's like literally the whole east coast. So it's going to be thousands and thousands of people. At that point, I would say the brokers don't need to panic about it too much, as long as it's only 2 or 3 months missed from now. Because 12 months' time, they'll have all good repayment history. Hopefully, everything else is back on track. So letter of explanation, speak to your lender BDMs. If it's a default, then what the consumer can do is get in touch with their lender, put a complaint in writing, explain that they were in a natural disaster zone, attach their credit report, allow them 30 to 45 days, 100% they need to remove that. So that's removing defaults is easier because there's more legislation that lenders have to apply to our accounts to be able to remove unfair defaults. But if it's just repayment history information, unless it's a bank error, we're finding that they're not changing it. But hopefully 12 months time, everything's back on track. Brokers can see lots of great repayments. They can just do a letter of explanation. I don't know. And RHI is changing very shortly as well with Equifax.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to hope that's the fact, because this looks, because I believe the rain hasn't stopped in some places and it's still going.
It's just going to be such another mess in 12 months. And I mean, we've been trying to help consumers fix RHI for the last 18 months because of COVID, right? And repayment pauses and all the rest of it. We've actually stopped taking a lot of it on because we've had clients who come to us, people who've come to us affected by COVID. One guy, for example, restaurant was shut down. Like, he was forced to shut down by the Victorian government. There was nothing he could do. He could not make his payments. Yet we could not amend his month's missed payments on his credit report. Because as the banks and lenders are stating to us, every single time we've tried so hard. People who've had medical issues, hospital, no work, depression, COVID affected, homeless, they will not budge. They will not fix that repayment history information. Maybe a couple of occasions. I would say it's a 20% success rate, to the point where we're really not taking it on anymore because it's so much work. It's taking my team 2 to 3 months. I'm having to pay for all of that work. It's probably costing me $2-3 grand. And then we're not getting paid anything. I don't mind if I had some sort of government fund to do all of this, it would be fine. But it's, it's causing a loss for the business because the success rate's so low. So we're having to turn people away. So I think we're going to be in the same position this time next year.
And it's not just that as well, but the emotion that your team
it's horrible.
Will be, yeah, because
the stories that we're hearing already, and then this on top of it, it's we feel like we're more like counselors, I think, most days. But look, we do. That's why I set up the business. I created a monster. I could have opened a few beauty salons, Deanne. Made my life a lot easier. But
no, if the government decides that you need to shut down like they did during COVID, because that was also affected quite bad as well. As a segue, though, I believe there was an article about what you guys were able to do with brokers recently in the media.
Yeah, we've had a few things, and happy International Women's Day, everyone, for yesterday. I had a great day yesterday in the city. I got soaked in the rain trying to get to Tower 3 at Barangaroo. I went to Tower 1, then Tower 2, and Tower 3. So I was drenched by the time I got there, but at least I got out of the house, which was nice. We've had some great coverage. We've had the whole postcode issue. In fact, a broker told my Vic BDM yesterday that she moved house and moved suburb, and her score went down 100 points, but nothing else had changed. So that I'm waiting for those reports to verify that. That was a bit of a shock. But we also have been speaking about a few things. So International Women's Day, and we did some stats for our brokers, and had a big email blast go out. But we worked out, this is really cool, inadvertently, since I started this 8 years ago, inadvertently, because I'm not writing the loans, you lovely brokers are writing the loans, we've helped write over $1 billion in home loans in
Wow.
the last 8 years. And
That's
on
amazing.
average, our brokers, with our help, are writing 2 more deals a month. And I just took 500K as an average home loan amount. I know we've got regional brokers where it's probably 250. And then we've got Sydney Metro where it's like $200 billion for an average home loan. But I just took 500K as a figure. So our
Can we
brokers are,
just, yeah, can we just ask, like, how did you help them write more business? That's just the quick and dirty of it.
how?
How did,
Because these
yeah,
are deals that they otherwise, if they didn't know about us, they just would have thrown them away and said, too hard basket, can't help you. You've got a default. Or they just don't think about it. Like, we've had brokers come to us with someone with a default, and that person tells us, yeah, I went to one broker and they said they couldn't help, but then I've gone to this broker and they say they know you and that I can get a loan as long as I can remove this default, which we've then removed so the broker can write the deal. Because for whatever reason, maybe it's lender options, maybe it's servicing, maybe it's product choice and following all the rules and regs that brokers have to, they can't get them into a home loan whilst that negative data is on their report. So our brokers are writing about 12 million more per year in loans because of the work we're doing in
that's
fixing
amazing.
credit.
That's a lot of nice
And I'm still
dinners.
broke.
Yeah.
I'm still broke. Why? I don't know.
But no, that's amazing stuff. And
Maybe I should start asking for a trail from banks. $1 billion. Even 0.01% would be nice, you know.
that's an amazing achievement. And and like I said, especially with those clients to the brokers as well, those are the clients that tend to be more stickier, more likely to refer clients, rather than the clients that are going, who's got the cheapest rates, who's giving the biggest cashbacks right now, or who's got no LMI, because those sort of clients
Mm,
will continually shop. They're not really going to be emotionally connected to the broker, right? Whereas
mm.
this for you, that like every deal, there's emotions attached to these things.
Oh, so much so. And you've got people ringing us going, I went to go see a broker and they told me, yeah, I can get it done, but it's going to be 7%, because they're not thinking outside the square, right? They're just looking at where does this loan fit? And then, oh no, but I went to another broker and he said, no, I can get you 2.5%, 3%, but we need this fixed. And they're happy to spend a few weeks with us at that point, because what's that in interest a year? Are they going to save 25 grand? Are they going to save 50 grand in a year? So of course they love their brokers. I mean, that's a client for life for that particular broker. One of our brokers, Kirsty, actually, she's regional. She sent me an email yesterday and she said, I just want to let you know that I've referred you 8 clients in the last 8 months. You've fixed all 8, and I was able to write home loans for all 8 families. Now she's regional, so that's $250,000 loans. She confirmed with me. But how amazing is that? You know, it's eight families who now don't have to pay extra money in interest, because they shouldn't have had to, because the data
Mm.
shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's number one. You got a client for life there, and plus also
Yeah.
for you, man. From a broker using your services, they're going to come back for you after that, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So also now, just being mindful in time. Have you got any last words for the audience?
I just wanted to talk about charity for a minute, if that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that
Because
is that all right?
because it's no, absolutely. Because if we go back to the bushfires, right? Everyone is giving. Everyone wants to give. Everyone wants to help. But the problem was we didn't know who to help. And then there was, if you cast your minds back to the bushfires, one little, I suppose you can call it fun, got lots of attention. I think it raised millions of dollars, right?
Mhm.
Broke all expectations, became almost like a viral thing as well. But the problem was that the fine print was that that group wasn't allowed to share to everyone. It was only allowed to share, I believe, only to that little regional area
I remember
itself.
that.
Yeah. So as a result, you know, I'm kind of guilty in the sense where I haven't jumped on any bandwagon and say, hey, you should, support this group or that group or because
It's hard
I
to
just don't
pick.
know where it's going to go. But I've also seen posts about people should support the local volunteers because they're the ones actually on the ground doing the things, right? But that said, I believe you might know someone or some organization.
I just did a little bit of research because I know, like many of you listening now, it's kind of like you always want to do more, but what can you do? Because you've still got to run your business, you've still got to pick up the kids, you've still got housework, you're still a parent, you're still looking after your parents, so on and so forth. So it's like, oh, and there's all this noise, all these charities need help, and where do you start? So I did some research, and Pip Sumbach, I think her name is Sumbach. She's a chef up in Lismore. She started a GoFundMe page. She did over 200,000 meals. So look up Pip Sumbach at BACK, SUMBACK. Look her up. But I believe that she's now desperate for the authorities to step in and take over because she's just exhausted. She's been providing meals. That's Lismore. If you want to do something general, not go, hey, I don't want to go just Lismore, I don't want to go Brisbane, then the SES is accepting donations. If you don't have time, like I would love to put on a pair of mud boots and join Mud Army 2.0, and but I've got other responsibilities, as many of us have. But you don't want to get stuck, like you mentioned, fraud before. The dodgy GoFundMe pages, or the ones where they can't hand out to everyone. But New South Wales SES and Queensland SES are accepting donations. And then I found another one, which is called Flood Help N for Nelly, R for Robert. So floodhelpnr.com.au. That's just for Northern Rivers, but you can actually pick things to donate. So whether that's blankets or whatever. And there was another place where I found Food Bank. Food Bank is great. Just $35. If that's all you've got and you want to help a family, that's enough to feed a family. $35. So whatever you can do is helping. And I just want everyone to know not to feel bad that you're not out there in a pair of gumboots, if you're not, because we do have a lot on our plates, right? So whatever you can do is great.
Even sharing the message is actually doing your bit as well, right? So because everyone's circumstances is different, but there is a lot of love and a lot of to give out there. But anyway, Victoria, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks,
obviously we're recording this before the conference. I'm looking forward to catching up with you for a beer. And
oh wait, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, Friday. I'm so excited.
That's right. Yeah, it'd be cool. And apart from that, thank you so much for giving your time and expertise on this matter today. And for the viewers, please look at this. Just look at it's not just your own clients, but it'll be people right? So it's whether it's a friend or whether it's family in these affected areas. Finance is something you do need to talk about, right? You don't need to do their loans, but at least give them this information. Hey, are you paying it? If you're not, have you contacted your bank? Have you contacted your lender? Because the last thing you want to do, have them to do, is to have another, I suppose you call it emotional episode, thinking about their finances once they're sort of finished with this work that the floods have caused. But anyway, that's all I got to say. But Victoria, thank you.
Very good, Deanna, as always. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Stay dry, stay safe, and hopefully see some of you at SeaWorld.
Absolutely.